With section 2 nearing completion, I thought I'd make a start on section 3, which includes a large waterfall and support for the other end of the rolling log bridge. I wanted to be able to see through this waterfall, so I had some colour choices to make. I had in my possession 2 trans medium blue plates, despite having ordered trans light blue, but I had a choice of covering them with either clear or trans light blue tiles. The plates looked a little dull covered with the clear tiles. I was more drawn to the brighter light blue, but I had concerns about the opacity. I did have a few trans light blue 2x4 plates I could test. Incidentally, have you ever heard of Q elements? These are genuine LEGO elements that don't officially exist in the colours they're produced in, commissioned by master model builders. Paired with clear tiles, I much preferred both the colour and transparency versus the others. It was going to be tricky supporting the waterfall. With the plates being transparent, any support structure would potentially be visible. I had a few clear lift arms, which I thought I may be able to use, but I wasn't happy with how I might have to connect them to the framework. I wondered whether a series of small clear plates built into the walls surrounding the waterfall might provide enough support. Testing my thesis, it looked promising, even managing to support the next plate along. It wouldn't be very strong, but it would be enough. Comparing my waterfall to some images from the game, I noticed that the lowest section in the water fell in front of the checkered terrain. With the way I'd set my design up, I'd have to bring the water significantly further forward, which looked terrible, so I decided instead to reduce the depth of the frame. I wanted to make sure the frame would be sturdy enough to support the log bridge, so I put together the newly designed section and gave it a test run. I hadn't given much thought to the final section of the build at this point, other than wanting to include some representation of the battle with Dr. Eggman. I felt the designers did a good job with the vehicle in the LEGO Ideas set, though I would be replacing Eggman with the modern figure, so I just needed a design for the Wrecking Ball. I'd had a look through Bricklink and found a potential candidate in a canopy that had recently appeared in orange. It had a pumpkin face printed on it, but I was willing to rub that off to make it work. The size and shape looked good, but it was missing the checkered pattern seen in the game. I was aware of a method used for building spheres from LEGO, which I thought could be a suitable alternative. Following instructions, I laid out the plates, doing my best to alternate colours, and the results looked fairly decent, though I was unsure how stable it would be. I wanted the Wrecking Ball to swing, which I could do in a similar principle to the swinging platform, only I'd no idea how to attach the ball to the ship. I thought the minifigure ring weapon could look good for the chain links, but their size resulted in them being awkwardly spaced. If I used a lift arm to hold the chain links, then it would be difficult connecting the ball, but even using connectors would leave the ball too far from the chain. Connectors would also have to be opaque, as the only suitable trans-clear technique was an arm which was far too long, unless I inserted it into the Wrecking Ball. This would certainly give me some options for connecting the two, but there would be a hole in the top of the ball with nothing holding the plates together. I looked at hiding the arm behind the ball, which would have allowed for easier connection of the two, but I wasn't keen on having to use connectors to position the chain links over the centre of the Wrecking Ball. I thought I might get away with removing the rear of the ball, then I could move the arm in closer and connect the chain links directly to it. This seemed about the best I could do, so I started looking at how I would lay out the terrain around the boss battle. I didn't feel there was enough length to the ground under Eggman's ship for both the Wrecking Ball and the 2 floating platforms between which it would swing, but I was reluctant to extend the project beyond the current 1.3 metres. The project sat on a combination of 16x32 and 8x16 base plates, making for 24 studs depth, but there was a lot of unused space remaining since upgrading to the new framework. The build itself measured 18 studs deep, so theoretically if I could reduce that by 2 studs, it would fit on 16 wide base plates. Thinking it through, I felt that I could probably make the reduction, but the level of effort required to once again completely redesign the framework and the mechanisms simply wouldn't be worth it for the small payoff. At this point I recalled having some 4x20 base plates, which would at least allow me to reduce the base depth by 4 studs. They also conveniently matched up with the length of the base, allowing me to increase the length by as little as 4 studs if I wanted. Creating a small floating platform, I used the swing of the wrecking ball to set their distance from each other, then added in a second platform. I found that the second platform overstepped the base plates by only 1 stud, but rather than add another base plate, I decided to reduce the length of the platform at the end of the log bridge and move the floating platforms over. I had no idea what to fill the large empty area below the boss battle with, but I didn't want it to go to waste. Looking over some of the game's level designs, I thought maybe a hidden area behind a breakable wall would be suitable. I likely wouldn't make the wall physically breakable, as I wouldn't want to keep rebuilding it, so it would be merely suggested. For the final lower section, I thought some of the wall sculpting I'd previously designed could work. I went for a different pattern than I'd previously done, opening it up a little more and spreading out the corner slopes to help the checkered pattern stand out. I chose to only go 1 brick deep with this due to the rarity of the reddish brown inner corner bricks. Repeating the pattern to finish the section, I was happy with how it looked, though I was a little unsure about having only 1 textured wall in the whole build.